Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Step right up. You, sir.
Me?
Oh, man, have I got a deal for you. We've got our bargain basement. You won't believe your eyes going at a business sale.
I don't know if I'm really interested.
All we need of you, fine sir, is to step right up here, take these keys, and open the mystery door behind you.
Well, I must confess, I do like surprises.
There you go. That's the spirit. Just take these keys.
Okay, I got them.
Good. There you are. Now turn around and just simply open this door and step right through.
I mean, okay, I must confess, I am a little excited. Here we go.
Yes. Good.
I can't see anything. It's dark in there.
Not to worry. Just step right through. Turn on the light to your right.
Okay, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Oh, did I forget to mention this one small thing? Once that door closes, this contract is binding. Enjoy your new business, fella.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Burr. How are ya?
Okay. Welcome back to the Living Artist Podcast, everybody, and hope you are doing well out there. And you're going to get right into it because, ripped from the headlines, ripped from life, we're going to keep going with things that happen in an artist's day and life. Illness excluded here. I have had some pretty good sales recently. I've had some action. It's been very difficult for me to handle them. Luckily, I've had some help from my wife, but it has also made things very clear for me, which it was in the past, but there's always this kind of people pleaser mentality, I think sometimes that we have as artists to get a piece of artwork to somebody no matter what. And this has kind of helped me a little bit out of necessity to double down on my value a bit more and not just do things because, you know what, I'm just going to get it out there. This person, deserves this discount, or, this person needs this from me. I am going to be a little bit more conscious nowadays of where I put my energy, where I guide my efforts, and what I'm willing to do with my work. Essentially, that's discounts, that's, knowing your worth. I think that's what this podcast is going to be called, is Know Your Worth. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I want to get into it a bit more here because it's something that we all have to deal with all the time. This is a problem for artists that happens almost on a day-to-day basis. I'm not just talking about sales, although we will be focusing primarily on sales with this just because it's a good example and it's maybe the best example of showing how you know your worth as an artist. So, I've had some good sales recently. I've had some action. I had a really dark period where I was kind of not able to do a lot of sales. So I took a step back, and there were some necessity sales that I had to do. I had some help from my wife, but I'm trying to slowly get back into that if I can, but it's been difficult. I've had some sales and it's been great. I did have an offer. I will, keep this nameless and art marketplace-less, but I did have an offer the other day on kind of a big painting, and I was excited at the beginning. And when I opened up the email and I opened up the offer, I did the math and I was like, this person offered me 60% off this piece. And you know what? It was not like a low dollar amount because it's a big painting. I was like, well, that's still, money, but I am not going to give my work to somebody for 60% off. And this person did not say anything. They did not sell me on, this is my first piece I've ever collected and can't afford it right now. Down the road, I'm going to be buying more pieces. This is the first piece I want to, have in my collection, and it would mean so much to me. And then you work with somebody, you see this person is conscious, and maybe you don't just jump at the 60%, but maybe you meet somewhere in the middle and you find something that works for you and something that works for the collector. And then if you can't, come up with an arrangement, you part ways, right? And say, okay, well, good luck. Maybe down the road we can work together when finances change, or blah, 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 so on and so forth. Fill in the blank. But I didn't even have anything from this person. They just gave me this blind offer. And I, of course, wrote my conscious response back, as I always do. And I offered them a counteroffer, which was a discount that I'm willing to give that, would make both me and the collector happy. And I thought it was very fair. And I kind of expected this to happen based on the, prior communication or lack thereof. But this person just didn't even respond. They didn't respond. I don't know if they're thinking about it. Doesn't really matter. It's a lot of red flags right off the bat. Like, don't really want to work with somebody who can't communicate. I don't want to work with somebody who's just going to offer an artist, somebody who's doing this for a profession and who values their own work. What does it say about you as an artist? And what does it say about the collector and how much they value your work? If they're going to offer something blindly that is that egregious and just think that it's going to be okay, with no preamble or any explanation. So, for me, it was fine. In the past, I would have probably struggled more. I probably would have had the anxiety kick in and the people-pleasing tendencies kick in and go, you know what, I should maybe work with this person. Who knows, maybe it'll lead to another sale. I don't really do that anymore because it's not worth my time. And I've given away some work in the past. Not given away meaning for free, but given something away and undercut my own value to give a piece to somebody because, I just thought, look, I could use the money. I need to make sales. I've got a lot of work backlogged. I've got a lot of work in the studio that I need to move. And that is a consideration, of course. And maybe that's something we'll get into, but I've always ended up regretting it because you can't ever get that back. And, even if the person ends up buying something from you later, we love our work. I look back on pieces that I've sold for too little or I've given away for too little. And I'm like, man, I almost wish I had that piece in my house hanging on my wall rather than giving it away for, 50% off or something. Now, we all have commissions we have to work with, right? And some of them are upwards of 50%. I know some people take even more than that, but we price accordingly. We price our work to sell something that we're going to feel good about at the end of the day. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit more about is knowing your own value. And part of that is pricing your work well, right? You got to come up with a price that fits. That's not only just like, okay, this is the right value, but taking into account the commission, taking into account a potential discount, because let's face it, in the world we live in, and especially if you're getting started as an artist and you haven't sold a lot, you're probably going to be giving some discounts. And I think that's okay. As long as you know your value and you're pricing accordingly, I think discounts are okay. And I don't say, don't give somebody 50, 60, 75% off, unless, of course, you're just trying to move some work and you're trying to get started and established. There's always a time and a place for everything. But I would never go that far. I mean, aside from like selling out of the studio to like a friends and family type situation, the most I've given from a gallery or an online art marketplace has been, I think, 30%. That's probably as high as I've gone. And if you go higher than that, you're going to run the risk of after commission, after shipping costs, everything's more expensive now, after the materials, all these things, the time you put into it, you're going to probably end up kicking yourself. But like I said, there's a time and a place for everything. I think a good strategy sometimes, if you're trying to move work, is to make some smaller work that is priced accordingly. Something that you want to move, the gateway drug, like I've talked about in the past, something that kind of gives somebody a taste of your work. And then they go, oh, wow, this is great. I want to now move on to a larger purchase and get a bigger piece. And you've established a rapport with this person. I think that's a great way to do it. There's other ways around this. I think a lot of times when you become that heavy discounted artist, that's just what you end up being. You end up being pigeonholed as the artist who will give you their work for 50, 60, 75% off. And, how can you expect another collector to pay like full price when you're giving your work away for 75% off? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's partially about knowing your worth. If you're just doing this as a hobby and it's fun and you just, you're selling to people and, oh yeah, I'll accept that. This is a little side hustle and whatever. It's not like your thing where you're trying to get into galleries and be a professional artist. That's fine. You got to do what's right for you. None of these things are 100%. There's always outliers. There's always exceptions. But I do think another reason to value your own work is because as you go along in the process and you become a more professional artist and you start doing this for a living and you start working with galleries and maybe big ticket collectors, big ticket galleries, blue chip galleries, stuff like that. If you've established that you're the discount person, they're probably not going to take you as seriously as somebody who has not done that in the past and who has kind of established that they know their worth with their work, because that's what they're going to be wanting to do. I mean, everybody's trying to make a little money off of work when you get into that upper echelon of the gallery system. And a lot of these big time collectors, it sounds funny, but they actually like paying full price because they also value the work. They know they want to be able to brag about how much they spent on your work. They want to be like, this was of this value. It makes me feel better about my purchase because, this is an artist who knows their value, and this is a person and a collector who knows their value. And this is a gallery who knows the artist's value. And this is a market who will then in turn know the value of this artwork. So all that to say, know your value and kind of try to internalize that a bit when you're thinking about selling your work. I do think there are ways when you're starting out and when you're trying to move work. Like we all have periods where we need to make some money. And I've had periods where I have discounted my work because I just needed to move product or I needed to move art. And I've needed to, make some money. Look, we're all human beings and we have mortgages and rent and things to pay for, kids sometimes or holidays, birthdays, you name it. We need to make money sometimes. And if this is what you do for a living, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But there's always a healthy and a conscious way to do this where you're taking into account your own value and how this looks as an artist and the long game and how you're going to be perceived moving forward with your career. So that's just something I want to talk about today. And I hope it has given you some food for thought. And how are you pricing your work? We've talked about a little bit of how to price your work in the past. Go back and check out that episode if you want to. I can also talk about that a little bit more in the future if it's something of interest. But once you've established how to price your work, then you got to establish like how much wiggle room you want to have to discount your work if you're going to discount your work. What's that price, the bottom price you're willing to give that away for, where you're going to still, get your nut, make your money, and not kick yourself later and feel bad about giving your work away. That is the number we should all know when we're selling our work. I will not go below this. Come hell or high water. As I always say, I'm not going to go below this price point. And if we can stick to that at the end of the day, I think that is something that we can hang our hat on and feel proud of. And everybody will be happy. The collector, the gallery or art marketplace, and us as artists and our loved ones who actually also value our work. We can all feel good about that. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. Hopefully you are all, making some sales, making some work, knowing your own value, and just, creating some work that you are proud of. That's the main thing. So we will see you next time on the next episode. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Bye-bye.
Boy, did I fool him. Wait, what's this? A chase. I'm up to the task. You're never gonna get me, copper. Yeah.
Hi, folks. This is Mumford. You've just witnessed an act of karma. A tale, if you will, of knowing your own worth. A story of doing unto others as others should do unto you. So I will do unto you what I would like to have done unto me, which is in this fucking podcast. So long, everybody. We'll see you next time. I don't know why I still do it.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do, and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.